Good evening. It is September 26, 2024, and I'd like to welcome you to the South Brunswick Board of Education meeting and to call the meeting to order. Please stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oops. Okay. So I'll read the statement of advance notice. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6, also known as the Sunshine Law, was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. The primary purpose is for board members to discuss and vote on board business. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the board secretary has caused notice of this meeting 48 hours prior, including date, time, and location, to be posted in the South Brunswick Public Library, the board office, and filed with the township clerk and communicated to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger. It is also posted on the district website. Mr. Prowowski, may I have roll call?
Ms. Julie Ferrara. Ms. Laura Hernandez.
Here.
Mrs. Deepa Karthik.
Here.
Ms. Alicia Khan. Mr. Raja Krishna.
Yeah.
Mr. Mike Mitchell. Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Yeah.
Dr. Smitha Raj.
Here.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Yeah. May I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Mitchell moved. Ms. Hernandez second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Approval of meeting is complete. Next order of business is board minutes. Board Secretary, Mr. Pawlowski's draft of the minutes from September 12, 2024 were posted on the board portal. Are there any changes from the board members? No changes. Minutes stand as written. Thank you, Mr. Pawlowski and Ms. Marcia. The next order of business is the report of the student representative, Ms. Sumaira Tuwati.
Good evening, everyone. Starting off with some school news, we successfully had our first blackout game on September 20th. Student council sold almost $200 worth of merchandise, but unfortunately, our Vikings lost 6-21. Make sure to show up at our pink out game on October 5th. Our annual club fairs were Tuesday, September 24th, and Wednesday, the 25th. Students enjoyed the interactive summaries about the different clubs our school offers. We welcomed our high school students, parents/guardians at back to school night yesterday. Our student council and class council members sold merchandise and helped parents navigate their way through the school. Our yearly Wear Teal Spin the Wheel event is tomorrow. Students will engage in activities such as cornhole, Connect 4, and spin the wheel to answer questions about ovarian and prostate cancer awareness. SBHS starts off the month of October with this Pink Spirit Day on October 1st to raise breast cancer awareness. Moving on to athletics. For the 8th time in school history and the first time since 2018, the boys soccer program won the Red Division with a division record of 4-1-1 and owning the tiebreaker with St. Joseph's of Metuchen. The Viking Marching Band began its competitive season at Hunterdon Central Regional High School on Saturday, September 21st, and placed first in Group 5 Open with a score of 77.2 and won awards for Best Music, Best Visual, and Best Overall Effect. The band scored the highest of all bands at the competition. Our girls volleyball team is holding a pink out match on October 8th versus East Brunswick. There's a $3 entry and the Snack Shack will be open. All proceeds will be donated to the Making Strides fundraiser. Come out and show your support and don't forget to wear pink. That's all I have for you tonight. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the update. All right, moving on. Next order of business is the report of the president. Just a couple things. Just for the board members' edification, the board goals for 2024-2025 actually were added to the consent agenda for this evening, so we'll be voting on those board goals within the consent agenda. Also, please note again, back-to-school nights have begun. If board members plan on being present, please notify the principals and Mr. Fetter appropriately. I'd also like to give a shout-out and a thank you to the district grounds crew, the custodians, and the security staff for their assistance during all back-to-school nights. That's it. Very short. How about that? Report of the superintendent is next.
I would like to thank Lisa for a short president's report.
As the short
And that concludes my report. First, to all the students out here, this is like always a fun night because we get to see this incredible work. So congratulations, you're going to get honored in a few minutes, but just wanted to say that before we started. I want to share with the board and the community that tonight I would like to launch a new ad hoc committee for this school year. Not sure the exact name, but something like a security council, where we would be inviting, similar to how we've done things in the past, we'd be inviting students, staff, families, businesses, township, police, to be involved, board, to be involved in a committee to really look at security options, what we currently do, what is possible, how that affects the district, how it affects our financial structures, but to really dig in deep into safety and security. Obviously, as this year opened, we were dealing with another school shooting. It doesn't seem to be dissipating, and I know it's a concern for our stakeholders in our community. So we feel this might be an opportune time to bring people into the fold and do that. So you'll see it. We'll talk more about that in a goal, but we really want to do this and hope the board is would be in support of this. So Dave, myself, and Jim Conroy, our safety specialist, started the conversation, shared with a couple of board members. I think I put it out to you guys on Friday or Monday, and we think it's the right work. And our other committees that have happened in the past have really yielded positive results. So we're excited to do the work. And if it's a go, what we're going to do is we will do a full invite where we will do the same thing we've done in the past. We will ask families who wants to participate. We will ask Mr. Varela to find some good students, possibly any of your leadership or students that are just interested in the topic. Maybe even ask middle school. I think we can probably, Bonnie and Kim, if we can maybe think about if middle school kids would be appropriate as well on that. But we really just want to have our community understand security and safety in schools, as well as have the opportunity to see what's even possible. There's so much out there. We could literally spend $50 million a year on security and still be more you could probably do. So we just want everyone to get into that. So if there's no challenge of the board, if everyone's in support, we'll plan on moving forward with that, and probably by next week have communication out to the community on that. We are also, we just get notified of a change of subject, but of our merit scholars. So again, we have kids who have been, their National Merit Scholarship has them as semifinalists. We have kids that have been honored. It's always a great thing, and Mr. Varela will be doing that with his team. Is that usually around February, March, Pete, to honor those students, but we just learned about that. Some important dates: the Week of Respect is coming up, October 7th. The week of October 7th. It's an important time to remember the importance. And again, it's so much going on in the world right now, the politics, the various things happening across the pond. And it's so important to remember that it's okay to have a differing view. It's okay to have a differing thought. That doesn't make someone wrong, and it doesn't make them an enemy. And that's vital to understand that. So we'll be doing work on that in our schools. Also October, I saw Jody a second ago. Where did I just see Jody? Jody, there she is. So Jody, I'm mentioning Jody by name. It must mean it's time for Dyslexia Month. And Jody is our resident dyslexia expert at Greenbrook over there and the district. So that's also October. So those are important things for us to remember. Some other important dates. Our next board meeting is October 15th. It's a Tuesday, not a Thursday. We need to do that. And also, students, don't get upset about this, but we are off next Thursday and Friday. I apologize. We are going to be off for Thursday and Friday. But art teachers, you still must be present on Thursday and Friday. And other than that, I'll turn it back over to you. And again, congratulations to our students and our staff for amazing work. And let's move on.
Any questions for Mr. Fetter? Seeing none. Also, just to recognize,
Just a head nod.
Oh.
Is there any concern about going forward with a security council?
No, I have concerns actually. The thing is, I do appreciate the intention. The community needs to know what's happening, and the risk-benefit sort of analysis of spending more on security versus the actual benefit of protecting the kids. But the thing that bothers me is that over a period of over the course of conversation, there will be information that should not be at a later point in time, abused, in a security breach. So that is something that concerns me. So I don't know if there can be a very, sort of very strict information decimation approach towards it, making sure that the information that goes out in that committee
In other words,
doesn't.
nothing that puts anyone at risk will be shared publicly.
That's my one concern.
We'll cover that.
privacy will be, privacy is foremost. One of the,
It's not going to
Not
be.
just the
It's
privacy
not
part
going to
of
be
it.
everybody, please don't tell anybody.
right,
Anything
Yeah.
that can't be shared or known would not be done in that open forum.
right.
So any vulnerabilities in the buildings or anything that can potentially be misused at a later point in time. So we can't stop people from having dinner table conversations, and people who participate in those committees, and then they might not be having any bad intentions, but you can't stop them from having dinner table conversation. Essentially, once the information is out there, it's out there. It can be abused. It can be used in various ways.
For example, if we talk about having metal detectors, it's public knowledge that we have them or don't.
Yeah,
So
that's one of the more obvious ones.
we understand what you're saying, and Jim and our police would be safeguarding that very carefully before anything would happen. Everything will be planned in advance before we would do anything.
Just as a point too, the district has contingency plans in place. We're not even privy to it.
Yeah, I mean,
This board is not privy, and that's the way it will stay. There are certain aspects of security that we don't even have the right to see, and that's the way it should be. And
should
that's
be,
how it
yeah.
will remain.
So it'll
Yes, absolutely.
in the committee as well.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yep. Thank you for that. Any questions to my right? Mr. Nathanson?
No, I just had, not a question. I just wanted to, what you and I were discussing, and in the vein that Scott brought up, and what the good doctor just brought up, that it still will operate according to what we were talking about. No?
We're not sure. I think we should talk about that.
Oh, okay.
After we understand.
Oh, okay.
What his intentions are.
Oh, okay.
Right now, we need to look at what Mr. Fetter is requesting us to do, and that is an advocacy, quote-unquote, committee for security, given that involving the community. That has nothing to do with the board right now,
Okay.
okay? Other than we're approving his movement on this.
Okay.
Is there anybody that doesn't feel that there should be a community security council? Nope. Then I would, okay.
The objective is to just make sure the community understands the risk benefits of various security measures that the school, or maybe you can just elaborate on the objective of this
I
committee.
think what we should ask Mr. Fetter for is that specifically, to get more information from you as to what the intentions are. You can send that out to the board.
I did.
Oh,
I
right.
can send it again.
Yeah, send it again.
You have this, I sent
Yeah,
it to you
send it
already,
out.
but I'll send it again.
Yeah, just send it out, just what the intentions are for the Security Council, so that it's clearly documented and understood. And at that point, if there's any questions, I would ask that the board members question Mr.
try and find it right
Fetter
now.
directly, just include
So
Laura and
that's
myself.
the, okay,
Yeah.
I will, that
Yeah.
is the thing I gathered. I saw it most as
Yep.
mostly as a cost benefit, not cost, but risk benefit assessment, and informing the community of the risk benefits of various things that are going to happen. But yeah, I
I need to be more clear on the
Okay,
objective per
so what
se.
I would recommend is review what Mr. Fetter has sent out and will send out. If there's any questions, then I would ask that you direct them directly to him, include us.
Okay.
And then until we determine how we're going to move forward from if there's a need for a committee or what have you, we can determine who would be involved.
Okay.
But at this point, I would just say the three. Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Karthik?
Just
A
comment.
little closer, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
I just wanted to respond to Dr. Raj's comment. I think the objective of this particular ad hoc committee, if you want to call it that, or a working group, is to involve bona fide stakeholders in a conversation and a dialogue as it relates to security for a short period of time. So it's not an extended committee as such that has no start or end date, but it's a defined period of time where we are building engagement with the administration, the board, and the community on this particular issue, since it's become so front and center of student life. Right? Security has become such a critical aspect. So I think giving parents, instead of just gleaning through some comments on WhatsApp discussions, or parents not having a forum to sort of bring out their thoughts, etc. This is an avenue for them to come and engage with the district on this particular topic. Not we'll use the discretion of the administration to ensure that that the conversations remain in the realm of exchange of ideas, right, and remain in the realm of understanding, rather than divulging information that might be too sensitive for a discussion for a broader group. So my understanding is this is it's an avenue for us to engage with our teachers, our stakeholders who are there in the buildings on a day-to-day basis. We have to also understand firsthand how they feel about this aspect, right? And what are they experiencing? How do parents feel every morning when they send their kids to school? What we hear is a limited sort of set of comments that we may be coming from our own sort of experience on this topic. So I think this is a very good thing because it is limited to a particular period in time, and then we can always evaluate whether we need to revisit this sort of ad hoc committee or not, or whether it has to happen on a sustained basis. I think this is an evolving conversation. But I think as a start, I fully support such an ad hoc committee.
Excellent. Anybody else? No? Then you have a board approval to move forward with the community, and for lack of a better term right now, the Community Security Committee, Council, however you would like to determine the title. Great. Anything else for Mr. Federer? Okay, moving on. Thank you for that, and thank you for the comments to all the board members. Okay, moving on, recognition. Right now we have one recognition this evening, and we're going to be recognizing the 2024-2025 District Calendar Art students. First and foremost, congratulations to all of you. This is a prestigious honor. It is one of our most favorite times of the year because the work that is produced by everyone from K through 12 is just amazing and tremendous. And we get so much recognition from around the state that people know that South Brunswick has an amazing art program, and the art gallery is just a phenomenal event for this district. If you have never attended one of the district art shows, which I'm sure all of the parents here have, to the people in the audience, you definitely should. They're held in the spring. You will be amazed again at the talent of our students in this district. So now I'd like to call to the podium Dr. Mammon, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, to begin the recognition. Dr. Mammon. I'm sorry, and Blair and Christian, sorry.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Two things. I'm going to ask for forgiveness later, but none of this is possible without resources, right? You see how much from our staff and our students and what they're able to do. We're not able to do them without resources. So I really want to take this moment to just highlight our fearless leader, Scott Fetter, who was named Middlesex County Association Superintendent of the Year. Hopefully he won't fire me for doing this, but this happened in June, and he kept it under wraps. And exactly, he was named after just his tireless advocacy on behalf of not just South Brunswick children, but the children of Middlesex County and New Jersey in general. Particularly his leadership in addressing the school funding formula. His work and the advocacy has had a lasting impact on our schools and communities, and for this he was recognized as the County Superintendent of the Year. We are fortunate to have such a dedicated and passionate leader guiding our district, passionate _ ensuring that every student has the resources and opportunities that they deserve. So join me in congratulating Mr. Fetter. He is so going to get me.
If you are interested, we have an opening for an assistant superintendent.
To that end, I want to congratulate our parents, our teachers, and our students, all the talented students whose artwork has been selected for recognition. Your creativity, hard work, and unique perspectives are truly inspiring. I'm always in awe when I go to the art gallery show. It's amazing. We're so proud of your accomplishments and look forward to seeing your continued growth as artists. So I'm going to call on Ms. Blair Eisman and Ms. Kristen Laskin. Ms. Blair Eisman is going to recognize the elementary school and middle, and Ms. Kristen Laskin will do the same, but for high school.
Good evening, everyone. So good to see you. I'd first like to ask our president, Mrs. Rogers, to come on over. She's going to help give out some certificates to our winners. And I'm going to ask if you are a student artist being recognized tonight to come on over and stand here on the wall, or if you're an adult teacher, principal accepting for them this evening, to come on over as well. All right, so as Dr. Mammon said, I'm Blair Eisman, and I'm joined by Kristen Laskin, and together we have the honor of supervising visual arts in the district. And we are here tonight to celebrate our student calendar art winners. Selecting calendar art is one of those time-honored traditions here in South Brunswick. And last April at the art gallery, our art teachers selected pieces for the calendar that you're gonna see here tonight. And they truly are stellar and breathtaking. We do want to mention that this year, for the first time, our calendar is available in a convenient and accessible digital format on our district website, making it simple for you to find and view important dates. So if you head to our district website, you would simply click on the calendar tab, live district school calendars, and then you would click on SBSD calendar 2425. Always like to start with some thanks and some gratitude. Our building and central office administration, the board, Dr. Mammon, our student artists and families. A big shout out to Mrs. Sheila Nazaire. She is Dr. Mammon's administrative assistant. Where is she? There she is. Stand up. Yes. She is responsible for the layout and creation of the calendar, which I know is a labor of love, and all of the preparation for tonight to make it special for families and students, so thank you. And also a big thank you to our K-12 art specialists. The way that they teach, guide, inspire, encourage, and bring out the artist in every student is truly remarkable. So Mrs. Kazar, Ms. Tiedemann, Mrs. Mallon, Ms. Kachelik, Mrs. Kipnis, Mr. Schissel, Mrs. Ward. At North, we have Mrs. Costello. At South, Mrs. Dovis. And then at the high school, Mrs. Boudou, Ms. Bufus, Mr. Castaldo, Mr. Chow, Ms. McMillan, and Mrs. Coleman. I think I got everybody, right? And yes, I go in alphabetical order in my head. I do also want to mention, although they'll be recognized later in the year at our retirement recognition, Ellen Kazar and Suzanne Tiedemann are retiring in a few months. Legends, they're legends. There's really no other way to describe them. Big shoes to fill. They're going to be missed, but their impact will be forever lasting. So please give them a round of applause. All right. So our first calendar artist from Brooks Crossing is Aparna Krithi Gavasan. Last year she was in grade 5 and she worked with Mrs. Ellen Kazar. Brooks Crossing 5th graders created self-portraits inspired by Brazilian artist Romero Brito. The background of each piece was divided into sections. Within each section, the artist created a different pattern, and with each pattern telling a different story about them. Aparna's piece shows wonderful skill, creativity, and attention to detail. Congratulations. Is Aparna here? You want to take the ribbon? Mrs. Macaroni could take it for her.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. From Brunswick Acres, Felicia Eng, last year 5th grade, working with Miss Suzanne Tiedemann. Last year, the district focused on the theme, Equity Begins With Me. 5th graders explored different ways to promote equity and inclusion, aiming to foster a supportive learning environment. The goal was to create a classroom culture where all students felt empowered to take risks and have the tools they need to fully participate and succeed. Felicia's beautiful sunflower painted and the quote, "Be the sunshine to people's gloomy days," reminds us of the importance of recognizing those who may need support and being the person who steps in to make a difference. Congratulations. Is Felicia here? Felicia? Felicia, come on up, sweetie.
Oh, there you are.
Congratulations. All right. From Cambridge, we have Ayush Sen, who was in 5th grade last year and worked with Mrs. Kristen Mallon. This is a colored pencil dragon eye. And this lesson explored the significance of dragons in cultures worldwide. Students deepen their understanding of value in color while enhancing their blending skills with colored pencils. Ayush's dragon eye was selected for its unique details and his adventurous use of color. Congratulations. At Constable School, Shrinika Nuthalapati. Last year, she was in 5th grade and worked with Mrs. Tracy Kachelik. This is a value portrait of Malala Yousafzai. This pencil and charcoal portrait was a value study in which 5th grade artists learned how to shift their thinking and see like an artist to recognize shapes and values that represent their subject. Shrinika's art was chosen because of her attention to detail, her masterful blending, and her effectiveness in showing the quiet strength of her famous subject. Congratulations. From Greenbrook, we're celebrating Amvi Mahapatra. She was in 1st grade last year and worked with Mrs. Kipnis. Last year, students created these sunflower paintings in the fall. They had the chance to see a real sunflower to learn how the petals overlapped, and they got to see the texture in the center. They also saw photos of the sunflowers that came in many different colors. They learned how to mix colors, layer brush strokes, blend chalk, and add details to their multimedia paintings. Amvi's piece was selected because it showcases her painting skills, creativity in color choice, and careful craftsmanship. Congratulations. And Mrs. Kipnis is going to accept for her. Good job, Mrs. Kipnis. From Indian Fields, Tombi Sendor, who was in 2nd grade last year, working with Mr. Jason Schissel. Students created a tiger by using oil pastels and paint. For this project, students studied the artist, Henry Rousseau, and the various creations of tigers in Rousseau's work. Students collectively created a tropical jungle around their tiger by studying objects in nature around them. Tombi was selected due to her creativity, skilled techniques, her close attention to detail, and her craftsmanship. Congratulations. Look at that big smile. From Monmouth Junction, we're celebrating Anika Kandamala, who was in second grade last year, and she worked with Mrs. Jill Ward. This is a winter landscape done with watercolor paints. Miss Ward chose this piece because of the students' overall enthusiasm for art, and her piece, I apologize, I'm gonna start over. She chose this piece because of the students' overall enthusiasm for art and this piece throughout the process. She created space, use of color, and gives you the feeling that you were there in that setting. Congratulations. Congratulations. From Crossroads North, Akshaya Rajagopal, who was in 8th grade last year and worked with Miss Ellen Costello. The 8th grade does self-portraits because the students are experiencing an important crossroads in their life. They are moving on from middle school to begin a new exciting journey in the high school. The project is meant to be a symbolic reflection of this time in their lives. Congratulations. Also from Crossroads North, Hannah Suzuki, who was in grade 7 last year, also worked with Mrs. Ellen Costello. The 7th grade does a landscape of Yosemite to expose students to the park and all of the many artists throughout history that have made a contribution to our country by painting the spectacular views that help to protect and preserve the national parks in our beautiful country. Congratulations. Yay. From Crossroads South, Parna Catella, who was in grade 7 last year, worked with Mrs. Tracy Dovis. For this project, students created a portrait using only words that were written or spoken by the person depicted. Parnika's portrait of Taylor Swift was created using only her song lyrics. This drawing was chosen because of Parnika's close attention to detail and her creative use of color and contrast. Congratulations. Is she here tonight? Yes. Congratulations. Also from Crossroads South, Julia Wittes, who was in 8th grade last year, working with Mrs. Tracy Dovis. In this project, students chose a food wrapper, photographed and cropped the image to create a strong composition, then created an oil pastel drawing based on the wrapper. Julia's drawing was chosen for the way she used color, contrast, and details to beautifully capture the whimsical spirit of the Nerds candy wrapper. Congratulations. And I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Laskin. She's going to honor our high school students. Yeah.
Okay, so now for the high school. We have Christian Lugos Reyes, grade 11. His teacher is Mrs. Lori Boudou. This is a pet portrait project. Students chose a photo of their pet of choice to create an acrylic painting with fur detail. Christian's painting was chosen for its cropped composition and amazing detail in the painting of his dog. Excellent work, Christian. Elizabeth Yu, grade 9, teacher Mrs. Rebecca Bufus. This is an oil pastel close-up. Elizabeth blended and layered oil pastels to recreate this very realistic close-up of a flower. It was a challenge, and she took it in stride and really observed subtle details and shadows. The final project really stood out from the rest. Excellent work, Elizabeth. Brianna Costa, grade 10, teacher Mr. David Castaldo. This is a Beyond the Borders mixed media project. Brianna did a great job emphasizing the fluidity, I knew I was going to do that, of watercolor paint while showing her drawing skills with marker to finish off the details. Excellent work, Brianna. Sahir Cower, teacher, grade 10, teacher Mr. Norman Chow. This is an interior portrait project. Mr. Chow chose this piece because of the ingenuity and her fresh perspective on the project. The piece challenges the artist to take an introspective look as to what makes them who they are. Excellent work, Zahir. Hamsini Kandukuri, grade 9, teacher Mrs. Kimberly Coleman. This is a jellyfish and oil pastel project. For this project, students chose a color scheme and created an interesting composition with jellyfish and additional details. Hamsini's artwork was chosen due to her craftsmanship and overall creativity. Excellent job, Hamsini. Nishi Kamani. Nishi Kamani, grade 11, teacher, Mrs. Kathleen McMillan. Nishi Kamani explored the concept of nostalgia and how to effectively portray the stimuli response correlation. The scent that the subject smells is a direct avenue back to early childhood when she used to cook with her grandmother. The ripped canvas Nishi showed to incorporate helps to communicate the forcefulness and intensity of which Nishi is transported to her childhood memories. Well done, Nishi.
This concludes our presentation tonight of our calendar art winners. Please give them and our art teachers one more round of applause. Students, artists, when you leave, you can take your artwork home with you after you see it out there in the hall and take some pictures with your family. So thank you again, and I turn it back to you, Mrs. Rogers. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to every single artist out there. Inspiring is a word that comes to mind. The use of the colors, the depth of the colors, just an amazing group of artists. To the teachers and the art teachers out there, amazing as always. South Brunswick is just the top of the charts when it comes to having our art teachers teach these children. You do an amazing job, and your love of art and your love of the student surely does shine through. Thank you for that. And to the parents, great job. There's an inspiration coming somewhere, and it usually starts within the home. So congratulations, parents, to each and every one of you, and also to the grandparents, the one that had the inspiration that is just intense, very intense. It gave me chills. Congratulations to every single one of you. I'm upset because I didn't get a chance to see the pictures tonight, but I have my calendar. I will do that. Does anybody have any comments? No? Again, Ms. Hernandez. Yes.
I just want to say I am in awe when I see this stuff. Complete awe. And that's coming from somebody who can't draw a stick figure. So when I see a first grader or a second grader produce this, it is a God-given talent. It is just absolutely amazing what you kids produce, and it blesses me to be able to see this and gives us bragging rights, just so you know that. So congratulations to everybody.
Congratulations. And we look forward to the spring art gallery.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you. Before we continue on, if you'd like to, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting. But if not, we'll take about 5 minutes, allow you to leave, and then we'll continue on. And don't forget your pieces of art. Did you want to say something?
No, we can leave.
No, shut up. Thank you once again to the families. Okay, we're going to continue now. Mr. Feder just has a
Yeah.
quick correction.
Just a quick question. Smith, it works out.
Gentlemen,
Guys, one second,
gentlemen, Barry,
So
somebody tap Barry.
I only sent this out so far to a few people. You were one of the people, but it was today. So if you hadn't seen it yet, that's why you haven't seen it.
There was no way I could have.
No, you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But I did send you all now the goal of the safety committee, which we worked on. And that's when I thought I sent it out to everybody. I realized I only sent it out to a few people today, the people on the education committee, to preview. But you all have it now on an email. These are the goals. So look at those. If you think there's a problem with those, just shoot me an email, let me know.
Yep.
And we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, next on the agenda is board committee and liaison reports. So we will start with finance. Any update from the finance committee?
We have not met, Madam President.
Yep, yeah, it's the start of school. It's kind of hard. We usually have to kick off that first. Thank you.
Coming soon.
You got it. Education committee.
Yeah, Education Committee met tonight, and we met, and Suzanne and Dr. Mammon went over, and guest speakers. We had guest speakers tonight. I like that. We went over just student achievement data and all the different testing, which is going to be presented to the public, but beforehand, FYI for the board, you will be getting a copy of this also before it is presented, so you can review it, ask questions, so we're on the same page. So that's what it took up the whole time, and it was really interesting. So
Good. Thank you for that. Business ops, any update?
Let me add one thing. So what's going to happen is you're going to receive an email, and we're going to be sending out the draft back to the Ed Committee.
right.
So they have time to review it as an Ed Committee, to make comments, but then you are going to receive this as well, I think, next Friday. Was it next Friday after that one?
Yeah, we're going to get it on Monday.
You'll have time to review the presentation and then have time to digest it, so that when we actually do the presentation up here, it won't be your first time with eyes on it. You're always welcome to ask any questions in advance, but the Education Committee will be doing all this first, and anything where they need clarifications or more information, they will let our team know, and then we will take it from there and distribute to everyone a finalized copy that will then be at the board meeting on October 15th.
October 15th?
Yeah, the next board meeting.
Thank you. All right, great. Thank you for that. And business operations.
Yeah, again, we haven't met yet, but however, we have a meeting for the 7th of October planned.
That's Monday, right?
Correct.
Great. And policy committee. Unfortunately, Alicia had a family situation, so she's not here to give us an update, but Mr. Pulowski, if you could please do that, I would greatly appreciate it.
All right, everybody, let's sit back and get comfortable. This is
Yep.
going to be a nice long one. Here we go. Policy 0141 is board member and terms. This reaffirms the Board of Education's memberships and structures. Policy 2200, curriculum content, has been revised to remove a list referencing numerous New Jersey student learning standards. This list did not include all of the standards. And since the New Jersey student learning standards are continually changing, it's appropriate to remove reference and specific standards as the policy grows and changes. Policy 4160, 3160, and 9181, all are physical examinations of students, staffs, and volunteers. The New Jersey Department of Health indicated this update limits TB screenings in New Jersey for school and teachers, other employees, and those students who are at the highest risk of TB infection. Some revisions in the 2023 guidance recommending limited or reducing some of the screening requirements from the 2016 guidance regarding students coming from other countries and circumstances when a new student or staff member should be given a TB test. 5200 is a regulation, does not apply. I have, next up is 5337. I might be going a little out of order with regards to our list on the consent agenda, only because I'm hopping around a little bit. We have service animals, 5337. Policy has been revised to include the New Jersey NJSA 18A We have a permitted access for service animals. That's new in school districts. 5350, student suicide prevention, provides training requirements for additional staff members. The requirement for any staff required by NJSA 18A to be trained to warn and protect when they have information on suicidal situations and cases like this in school districts. Policy 8420 is emergency crisis situations. It has new language added that requires staff training for school security be updated to include procedures for accommodating students with disabilities during drills and emergency situations. Policy 8467, firearms and weapons in school districts, has been revised to provide some additional detail included in the administrative code regarding student possession of firearms and weapons on school grounds. Policy has been completely rewritten to align with the current language in the statute and administrative code, mainly NJSA. Definitions, weapons, reporting students and staff, and handling of alcohol and other drugs is also part of this new code. Policy 9160 is the public attendance at school events. This sets safety requirements regarding bags, the types of bags, and the items allowed in school events at the high school. We have 2460, special education. Policy 2460 assures compliance with Part B of the Individual Disabilities Act and the New Jersey Administrative Code 6A. 2468, independent education evaluations. When a parent requests a independent education evaluation, this policy will provide the parent with information about where the individual education evaluation may be obtained, the criteria, and according to NJ 6A and the additional criteria outlined in the policy. So, last up is the 2365, artificial intelligence acceptable use, outlines expectations regarding the appropriate use of AI within the educational environment. And that is your policies that are on for second read for this board meeting. And if there are any questions, you guys, the board had multiple time to review these. This is your second read, so we should be ready for adoption.
Also, just a reminder, anytime we see the M like Mary, that's a mandated policy from the state.
Mandatory.
Mandatory, excuse me, policy from the state, just as a reminder to all. Any questions for Mr. Pawlowski? None, seeing none, we shall move on. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate you stepping up to do that.
Anytime.
Anytime, okay. Any liaison updates?
Can I add to Mr. Pawlowski? So just so the audience, the five of you out there know, when we meet, not only do we get the policies ahead of time as a policy committee, Mr. Pawlowski goes over everything with us, answers our questions, any of the changes, because a lot of times when we get the policy before, it's just changes in there. It's not like these are all brand new policies and we have tons and tons and tons of stuff. But I just think it's important that people know that when we're looking at policy and we're talking about policy and voting on policy, it is explained to us in detail exactly what we're voting on before we do so. So I just wanted to add that.
Sure. And those policies are all accessible to the community on the website.
Exactly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Any liaison updates? To my left, Dr. Raj.
So Crossroads South had their back to school night on 24th for sixth graders, and this time they had a separate back to school night for 7th and 8th graders, which probably is happening as we speak. And as usual, it was very well appointed, and then there was a good attendance also, and parents of new middle school kids, the sixth graders, they were all enthusiastic, and the staff was very good at explaining things, and the presentation was very good. The presentation that was put together was very helpful also. So I'm sure that's the same thing that's happening right now. That's the update from Crossroads South.
Thank you. Anyone?
Oh, where'd it go?
Let's move over to Ms. Karthik. Yes. I'll come back to you.
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Karthik.
Sorry.
Okay, back to Dr. Ross.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Mitchell was also in attendance.
Oh, very good.
I had to mention him.
Yes, absolutely. No, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
No, I'm supposed to mention him.
Ms. Karthik, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, I had a liaison report and then I wanted to say something else.
Okay, on the liaison?
Yes.
You
I'm
can
a
report on
for-
liaison.
Yes. So I am the liaison for the high school. So
Closer.
we had the high school convocation on the 13th of September. I was in attendance along with my fellow board members, Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Nathanson. It was very well conducted. The freshmen were watching the convocation from their classrooms, and I think the 10th, 11th, and the 12th graders were in attendance. It was wonderfully organized. It went very smoothly, and it was my honor to be there at the convocation. We were there in our formal academic attire, the three of us. So
Yes.
I'm very pleased to share that the event went off very well, and it was wonderful as usual.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Any other liaison?
Just Deepa, it was just the seniors that were in the audience. It wasn't.
Did the freshman
Te-
classroom? They watched it.
Everybody got to watch it.
They
from their
watched it, yeah,
classroom.
yeah, they watched it, right. But the seniors were in the audience, yeah. Thank you for attending.
Yeah, and the speeches the children gave were also very nice, very
good.
nice. Yeah, it was well done. Oh, and sorry, I forgot to mention Dr. Mammon and Ms. Luckborn were also there. It was wonderful. Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah, very nice event.
Any other liaison update?
And also-
Oh,
sorry.
What, Mr. Nathanson, Mr.
Yeah.
Nathanson.
1 second.
1 second.
The high
Okay,
school.
we need
also-
to control that, okay?
I didn't realize she was still talking.
That's okay.
Yeah, sorry. I just one more comment. We had the high school had its back to school night
Right.
yesterday. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend, but I heard it went off very well. I heard from the student council that it was very well organized and very well attended as well.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Nathanson.
Just a quick add-on. Suzanne Nikachuk came back
Oh, that's
and was honored at the convocation.
Well
also.
deserved. Thank you for that. And to the board members that are not present during back to school night, I'll send out the information regarding the back to school night welcome from the board. I'll make sure you all get a copy of that. Yep. Anybody else on liaison? Nope.
Just keep going.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell.
Just one sentence. Principal Cates, I spoke with her earlier, and she, even though the kids are not here, wanted to send her congratulations to them. So hopefully they'll get the message at some point that she was thinking about them. She would have been here, but duty calls.
Yep.
So that was the message.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Yes, Ms. Karthik.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion.
I can't hear you.
I'd like to make a motion
Oh, yes. Okay.
to add, to our ad hoc committee, the committee that our superintendent has recommended. So I was wondering if I can make a motion to add the security and whatever you want to call it or christen it as ad hoc security committee or security council.
Okay. So a security count, you're making a motion to request that this board have a separate
An ad hoc
or
separate
an ad hoc committee to security.
Yes.
Okay. You can make that motion, absolutely. Okay.
What?
Scott, we just.
I don't understand what you mean.
We discussed.
we
that.
discussed.
I don't understand what she's
Oh,
asking.
okay.
So if I make a motion to add an ad hoc security committee,
When you say ad hoc security committee, do you mean a committee of 3 board members? Only?
yes, because
Yeah.
if we have more than 4, then it would be a
No,
quorum,
no.
right?
What I mean is, we have an education committee.
Right.
We have an operations committee.
Right.
We have a policy committee.
Right.
Are you saying to also add now a security committee on that
No,
frame?
no, because that already is being discussed in the operations committee.
Okay,
So we
so-
maintain that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then in that case, you don't need a motion for us to do.
What you just proposed.
You don't need to do, you
Okay.
can, but you don't need to.
Okay.
You need to do a motion and a policy change
Right.
to add a security board committee that is only board members. You're not talking about only board members. You're saying, do what I described.
Yes, because we are already discussing this security as a topic in the operations.
Correct. I just was
committee.
making sure because I thought that, but you don't need a motion
Okay. If
to
I
do
don't
that.
need a motion, then I
Yeah,
think
you can, I mean, you're free to have a motion, but you would only need a motion for,
He's got it.
it's not a board motion to do that. It's an administrative task.
Okay.
But if you all would prefer to do it as a motion, feel free.
I think we need to discuss it because there were some discussions around creating whether we should or not create an ad hoc committee or to keep security within the existing business ops operations. I know there were several pros and cons, and I wanted to see, you had mentioned some pros and cons.
So let's do this. So
as we had discussed in email.
If there is no, let's look at it this way. If you want to discuss this a little further, more, we can put it on the agenda.
Yeah, we should discuss it and just kind of clarify it a little bit more what you're talking about. So we're looking at, and I know what Lisa was talking about, to form another committee, you don't need a motion. The president can establish a committee if it's just the board members. This is Laura's thought process. If Scott's already forming a security safety committee with the community and important stakeholders, including board members, why would we have two?
That's the discussion.
Yeah, right? That's what I think we're going to discuss. So this is my opinion after we discussed it a little bit already, that why have two? We have one where we have the community members there and the police and whoever, along with 3 appointed board members on that committee. What would a committee separate with just 3 members do?
Okay, so I think where we're going here is we have 3 or 4 board members on the, we don't want a separate committee. Right. Because we know that would be a whole policy change. We understand that. The question then becomes is 4 committee members, 4 board members on the Security Council that Mr. Fetter will be creating. Mm-hmm. Those 4 board members and or 1 would then have a communication, any further communication necessary, because it would also come through Mr. Fetter and Mr. Pawlowski, as well as the chair in the board, in the operations committee. So the question would be is maintain it as the ad hoc that Mr. Fetter is going to create, but ensure that there are board members included.
What I was trying
I'm trying to get clarification.
I am. Okay. And so what I clarified with Deepa was, Deepa, tell me if I'm wrong, was under the impression that we needed to have a motion to create the committee I was describing.
That is correct.
Correct.
You were not asking for any other committee of any kind.
No. Correct.
And all I'm saying is, while you can discuss this till your heart's desire, there's no need for a motion to do that. But that doesn't mean you can't have a discussion about the topic.
And that would fall on me, because quite frankly, I thought we required a motion. So I apologize for that.
That's fine. That's all right. So I just want to clarify so that our viewers who are watching us, if at all, and they're watching a recording, they're not confused. I think I'll just let me lay it out. So currently, security is being discussed as part of our operations committee. So my intention or my thought process is let it stay the way it is, because that's working well for us, right? This, let's call it a council and not confuse it with the word committee, okay? This council that we want to put together with relevant stakeholders, bona fide stakeholders who will participate in this discussion, is for a short period of time, which is a defined period of time, and it consists of board members, educators, stakeholders, etc., similar to what we did, or maybe similar to what we did for our finance budget committee or not, whatever. We'll figure that out. But at this point in time, I understand I don't need to make a motion to set up that security council that we just spoke of at the beginning of this meeting. We're all clear?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I apologize.
That's fine.
On me.
I will take my motion back then. Just grab it back. We're fine.
Take it back.
Good. Yeah, because another committee is not necessarily needed.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And Lisa, if you ever want another committee, just let me know.
You got it.
All right, I do have a question for that. So Scott's going to develop this committee. We all think it's a great idea, and board members are going to be on it. Where's the crossover with this committee and operations? Talking about safety and security. So how, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if we got the operations committee
So-
talking about it, and then we've got Scott's,
So I think where we draw the line is that the operations committee would be getting an update on current operations. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, please. That I would expect Mr. Nathanson to provide an update on what took place in the committee. The committee would be of any updates in buildings and grounds, anything that's currently taking place. Mr. Fetter had sent out the notification as to what the council would be
Right.
doing, which would be separate and distinct.
so the safety wouldn't be then on operations?
No, it would, because I think, okay.
I could try.
Yes, please do. No, let Mr. Fetter speak.
So basically, the safety and security is
Yeah.
on me.
Yes.
Not on you.
Right.
What the job of the board is to say to the superintendent, keep the district safe.
Correct.
Once you say that, then my job is to do that. The idea of having a whole group of stakeholders is knowledge, understanding, communication, clarity. To Smith's point, not to divulge where the secret missiles are kept.
Correct.
It's the idea of what an operations committee does is similar to what an education committee does. The education committee doesn't educate students. You learn, you have an opportunity to hear about what's happening to then offer thoughts, offer advice, offer oversight. So the operations committee is where you would find conversations such as anything we're talking about that involves operational content would fall there. Like when we had transportation. We didn't develop a transportation board committee.
Right.
We had a committee similar to what I'm describing with safety, but it fell under operations because transportation falls under operations. So that committee, while might have the same people on the board side as on the community side, was able to hear and get some briefings that would then be presented to the full board. When it comes to this, as part of one of the changes we're making with goal structure for this year, I will be updating the board on a regular basis at board meetings on all of this content as well. We will be doing that as a regular part of all the goals, not just this one, because that was a request, a good request, to keep everyone abreast. So I think the concept of another committee is just, was it sounds like a red herring to me of confusion, is what has happened. Because I do understand what, Deepa was not asking for that. She was not calling for that. She was simply saying, I like what you said, let's do that. That's all that happened. This concept of another committee just throws a little monkey wrench into something that is not needed. Unless the board felt we needed a whole nother board committee, which I'm not hearing that at all.
No, right,
So,
and I'm following
So
all
consider it to be just like we do everything else. When we do for example, we are doing the, Suzanne and I on October 15th will present the student achievement results. But prior to that, we met with the education committee and all of that work. You can think of it the same way.
I see that, but no one else is sitting on a student achievement agenda thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Let me clarify myself. Because if you're, and I understand exactly what you're saying, Scott, but right now where it differs from the education committee and what Suzanne just did tonight and how we're going to communicate that is on our operations committee, you're saying that's safety and security. We've got 3 people on that committee. You are now going to have a safety and security, I don't even want to say committee.
Say council for now.
Thank you, council. Okay. You're going to have 3 separate board members on that. So if you have 3 board members on your safety council, but yet safety falls underneath operations, there's going to be an overlap there.
You're describing the concept of safety falling under operations. Safety falls under the Board of Education.
Exactly.
And the superintendent.
Exactly.
Period.
Okay.
The idea that, what we're simply saying is transportation falls under operations. It has to fit somewhere.
Right.
It falls under that. When we had a transportation committee, we still had to talk about transportation under operations because a committee doesn't make decisions. So those decisions have to come back somewhere. So if there's a conversation about this or that, and the superintendent then makes a recommendation, prior to that recommendation coming to the board, it's got to come to somewhere. So it'll come to the operations committee rather than the education committee, unless it's an educational concept.
Use the mulch, for example.
So those 3 people not on the committee, on the, what did you call it again?
Council.
they're not going to report back to us or do anything. They're just going to be one of the.
They're participants.
Right.
They're just
They are just participants.
Okay.
That's where my
You don't need
confusion
to
was.
have board members on that committee.
Okay.
You probably will.
Right, right,
But
but-
you're participants, you're board members, so you can't not
But-
be. But you're
right.
participants.
Okay,
And
that's
all of
where
the
my
other committees, when we did
confusion
this,
was.
Yeah.
all the board members who are in part of those larger groups
Yeah.
were participants.
Citizens.
That's
Citizens.
Okay, that's
not a
where my
board
That's the
member.
confusion, I guess.
Okay.
How different
That
is
was.
it from a parent academy?
Parent Academy is I deliver information to
Yeah.
you.
There's
and
no
that's it.
interaction. There's no recommendations coming.
If you, were you on any other committees?
Yeah,
Or watch any of them on any of our videos? That's what this will be. That's what this will be. Just the topic won't be transportation or budget, it's going to be safety and security.
When we did the finance committee, there was 30-some people there. Mr.
Yeah, there were
Fetter
small
started with the
groups and stuff.
presentation, what we were up against in the state for funding, okay? What we have been doing as a district to try to assist in the funding arena. Then it was, what do we need to do to get to the legislature to make them understand what we were up against? And then we divided amongst the groups. Some dealt with the high school students,
there was
some
a small
dealt with the
groups working
people,
on-
some
yeah,
dealt with
I
the
remember
community. And then we went out and we did what we needed to do.
My
In this
confusion was
case-
just
right.
participant versus.
Yeah, you're just
That's all, that's all. But that was.
Right, and in this case, I'm just going to make a quick example, okay? When we were dealing with funding, Mr. Fetter came to the operations committee and said, do we need to do mulch every year? Right? He said, do we need to do mulch every year? So the committee said, talk, 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 talk. What's the benefit? What's the risk? What's the pros and the cons? His recommendation is, we don't need to do it every year. The board then, the committee then says, let's discuss it, and then agree, disagree, what have you. Vote, yeah, we're not going to do mulch every year. So before it comes to this board, right, that committee, it comes out of committee. The decision comes out of committee, if it needs to even do that. But it's his recommendation that's coming to the committee first, and then the board gets it. In this particular case, he will be running that council to say, you know, here's what we, without going too far where the nuclear, you know, missiles are hit, but here's what we do to that extent. What are you thinking we need? And then he then looks at all that information, makes his recommendations to either that council, however he wants to do it. But it's more of an interactive, that's the word I was looking for, an interactive discussion versus a parent academy, which is a presentation. Does that make sense? Anybody? Good?
So Scott, when the board members will be just participants like anybody else on there. When you come to whatever decisions you come to, you're going to present that here, or you're funneling that through operations?
So we're going to keep the board abreast of all of the goal work on a regular basis.
Okay.
I will have updates. You will also have opportunity to watch the videos of the meetings.
Okay.
It's that simple.
Okay.
We're making, this is the epitome of mountain out of a molehill right now, but
I think it's
understand-
necessary for clarification.
Just for clarification, what we're trying to accomplish
Right.
is identical to what we did with transportation. It's literally identical. We are going to discuss the issue, come up with a solution, and present. And that's pretty much where we go. But most of the things that happen in this is not board level action. It's administrative action.
Yeah, I
Let's
guess
take-
because of the discussion that happened prior was throwing me completely off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with
I
you.
would say that too. I would agree.
Okay.
All right,
Okay, I'm
anybody
all
on
good.
there,
All good.
comments?
It's all good.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on. Next is public comments on agenda items only. Let me just read my little statement. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters or community interest. Complete copies, Policy 0167, which govern the portion of the meeting, are available to the public at the auditorium entrance, online, or by contacting the board office. To permit the fair and orderly expression of comments, we ask that participants be recognized by the presiding officer, preface comments by announcing his or her name, place of residence, and/or group affiliation. If appropriate, and by, excuse me, I do that every time, and group affiliation, if appropriate, and by completing the sign-in sheet. Please print legibly, or we may be unable to document your name for the permanent record. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic. Mr. Pulaski will indicate when you have 15 seconds remaining. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members. No discussion between a participant and respondent shall extend the 3-minute time limit. The first public comment is for consent agenda items only. There will be a second opportunity for the public to comment on any matter. Mr. Pawlowski, has anybody pre-registered?
No pre-registration.
Are there any audience members who wish to make a public comment specifically on consent agenda? Seeing none, we shall close this portion of public comments. Next order of business, it is listed as the 24-25 board goals as old business, excuse me. I had received a couple items for address to be included. The board goals are now part of the consent agenda, so when we vote on the consent agenda, please note that the board goals are included. New business, seeing none at this time, we shall move on. Consent agenda review and walkthrough. Mr. Pawlowski.
We have a pretty quick consent agenda. Items 1.1 through 1.3 are all of your Board of Business financials. You have a non-public technology order for St. A's. We're renewing a proprietary licenses and subscriptions in 1.5. 1.6 is awarding a contract and authorizing a purchase over the bid limit. 1.7 is also Wilson language training over the bid limit approval. We have 1.8 is a contract for educational materials. 1.9 is recording awarding bids. 110, we have the reading of the second reading and adoption of policies that we had accomplished earlier in the meeting. We're abolishing a policy on remote board meetings during a declared emergency. We are also approving some travel and related expenses. We have our professional development motion, student field trips, approving out-of-district placements. We have a District McKinney-Vento liaison, Maria O'Donnell, congratulations. We have South Brunswick Board of Education goals on 117 and your personnel. And that is your agenda.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Mr. Pawlowski? Yes, Ms. Karthik.
It's not a question, but just a point of clarification for anybody who may be looking through our backup of the consent agenda. If Mr. Pawlowski can just expand on the item which is there on page number 14 in the bills section, which the description is medical plan. That is our insurance payment, correct? $3 million. Page number 14.
Page number 14 of the consent agenda backup.
Yes.
15.
It's printed on page number 14.
14. Yes, we have payments for medical plans and benefits. Yes.
That is our.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's all. I just wanted to make sure, because sometimes we get this sort of feedback that the description is too limited for us to understand what it exactly means. So I just
it says medical plan.
Yes, I know that, but I'm just seeking a clarification so that everybody can see it.
Correct.
Anything else?
That's it.
Anybody? Questions? Mr. Pawlowski, no? Okay, moving on. May I have a motion and a second for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Nathanson makes a move. I had Mr. Krishna second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Laura Hernandez.
Yes.
Ms. Deepa Karthik.
Yes.
Mr. Raja Krishna.
Yes.
Mr. Mike Mitchell.
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Yes.
Dr. Smitha Raj.
Yes.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers. Is there
Yes.
something funny?
Absolutely, yes. No.
Motion carries.
Yes, thank you.
Next on the agenda,
Come on, you
please.
got to have a little bit of fun. Thank you all for.
Barry, and I think you got to be a little bit louder when you talk. I can't hear you down here.
All right, next on the agenda is public comments. This is the second opportunity for public comments on any matter. You are reminded of the previous statement made regarding public comment rules policy number 0167. Again, at the podium, state your name, spell your name, announce your place of residence and or your group affiliation. Complete the sign-in sheet, and you are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public members of the public pre-registered, Mr. Pawlowski?
None.
None. Is there any audience members who wish to make a public comment? Seeing none, we will close this portion of the public comments. Please note our next scheduled Board of Ed meeting is set for Tuesday, October 15th, as we change the date of our Thursday meeting due to the Taste of Education's event being held on the 17th, as Mr. Feder reminded us. On behalf of the South Brunswick Board of Ed, enjoy your upcoming
Motion
weekend.
to-
And that's it.
No,
May
you
we
have a motion.
I'm coming. May we have a motion to close the meeting?
Ms. Hernandez.
Mr. Hernandez, second. Second?
Dr. Raj.
Dr. Raj. Thank you and good night, South Brunswick.